Hello and welcome to Tuesday evening's Yoga with Phil. As always, your practice is at your own risk, so do just take care, be aware of how your body's feeling today, making the right choices, take lighter options where that's right for you, and do miss anything out that your body doesn't need. We're going to start standing up today, so when you're ready, bring yourself to standing. Making sure you've got a good amount of room around you. We're going to take a swing with our arms wide. So maybe a little test. I like that, Martin, a little test to make sure that's going to work out. So have your feet a little bit wider than hip distance, so out towards the width of your mat. Taking your arms out to the side, stretching your hands wide. So that actually gives us our first stretch of the night as you stretch your hands wide, maybe just taking them back a little bit. And then starting to twist left and right. At first, just keeping your head so that it stays in line with your arms. So it's as if your arms and head is just one thing that moves in as one unit. Then you could maybe start to take your gaze over your shoulders. You're letting your head go round a little bit further than your arms. And maybe just noticing what that does. We tend to be able to go where we look. So as you start to look further, you may find you go a bit further with the arms as well. And then if you wanted to strengthen this up a little, you could lift the opposite heel as you turn round. And that may allow you a little more distance. Brings some balance into play as well. Seeing if you've got a final burst of additional speed. And then starting to slow that down until you end up back at the front. Lowering your hands down. Bringing your feet back together. And coming to the top of your mat, ready for sun salutations. Hello Helen and welcome, nice to see you, just in time for sun salutations. So coming to the front of your mat, feet together, getting that sense of what happens as you make something even as simple as standing active. So pressing your feet down, lifting the crown of your head up. Taking your shoulders up and then back, tilting your rib cage up towards the ceiling. 2 breaths as always. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Palms coming together to press together at the centre of your chest, lifting your elbows, still relaxing your shoulders. Reaching your arms up towards the ceiling. With your arms lifting, look between your hands, lift your hands higher, and then take your arms back a little. As you do that, lifting your chest a little more. So if you imagine that you have a bar right in the middle of your back, just at the bottom of your rib cage, that's kind of holding your lower top area from moving back. So it's all about the rib cage lifting up and back over that bar. From your hips, stretch all the way forward and all the way down. Let your arms come down and keeping them straight so they slow you down. Let your neck muscles relax here, fingertips touching the mat. Knees bent as much as you need. Right leg all the way back. Lower your knee, lift your gaze and relax your hips. So having your right leg pressing down into the ground as you ease your hips forward. Tucking your right toes under, sending your left foot back to find plank. Straight line back of your neck all the way to your heels. Hands push the ground away from you, heels press back, knees lifting, navel to spine. Lower your knees, then bring your chest to the ground. Maybe keeping a bit of a lift in your hips so they stay a bit off the ground. Touch down with chin or forehead, then press forward as you lift your face and lift your chest. Taking your shoulders back, elbows in close, and toes tuck and hips lift. Maybe taking them back towards your heels first, or straight up, then coming to down face dog. Your hips lift as high as you can take them to the ceiling. Your hands press down into the mat, your heels press down into the mat. Looking between your hands, bringing your right foot through, taking your left knee down. Your gaze lifts, your hips relax. Tuck your left toes under, bring your left foot forward. Find a moment of relaxation in your forward fold with your head hanging heavy. Then lead up with your arms. Reach them up, they'll bring your body with them. Look between your hands, tilt your rib cage up to the ceiling, coming up and over that bar that's at the base, at the back of your rib cage. Then hands come down. Inhale. Exhale, palms pressed together. Reaching and stretching up and back. Showing your armpits to the ceiling. From your hips, stretching forward and all the way down. Fingertips touch the ground in line with your toes. Left leg all the way back. Lower your knee, lift your gaze. Tuck your left toes under, send your right foot back. So strengthening your plank, drawing your navel to your spine, making sure your knees are lifting, heels press away, shoulders ease back. If you're feeling strong, you can come down in one straight line, taking your elbows back, or knees then chest, or a combination, a bit of both. Lifting your face, lifting your chest, shoulder blades ease back, toes tuck under, and hips lift to down face dog. Hands press down, heels press down, hips lift on high. And as you think about hips lifting on high, I often think about that in terms of the top of my hips lifting on high. But you could also think about it as the inside of your hips that are on the mat side of your body. Think about lifting them up high. As you do that, maybe pressing your hands forward and easing your thigh, the top of your thighs to the wall that's behind you. Look between your hands, bring your left foot through, taking your right knee down. Gaze lift, hips relax. Right foot springs through, forward fold. Upper body's relaxing over your legs. Then lead up with your arms. Arms reach and stretch up. Looking between your hands and arms come down. Inhale. Exhale. So we've got 2 more rounds. We'll take these straight through, flowing with the breath. Beginning with the rest breath. Inhale. Exhale, palms press firmly together, lifting your elbows. Inhale, reaching and stretching up and back. Exhaling forward and all the way down. Fingertips in line with your toes. Inhale, right leg back. Knee down, lift your gaze. Hold your breath. Send your left foot back, coming into plank, keeping the strength in your plank. Exhale as you lower. One straight line or knees then chest. Inhaling, lift your face and lift your chest, coming to cobra. Exhaling, toes tuck, hips lift on high, hands press forward and down. Inhale, right foot through, left knee comes down, lift your gaze. Exhale, left foot through, forward fold. Inhale, reaching up with your arms, bringing yourself up. Exhale, hands down. Inhale. Exhale, palms press together, shoulders ease back. Inhale, reach and stretch up and back, coming up and over that bar. Exhale, forward and down, neck muscles relaxing. Inhale, left leg back, knee down, lift your gaze. Hold your breath, right foot back, come into plank. Push the ground away from you with your hands. Exhale to lower down. Inhale, face and chest lift, shoulders ease back, elbows ease back. Exhale, toes tuck, hips lift. Hands press forward and down, taking your chest towards your knees. Inhale, left foot through, right knee comes down. Exhale, right foot through, forward fold. Take this moment of relaxation, a very brief moment. Inhaling, lifting, reaching and stretching up and back. Exhale, hands down. Final round, inhale. Exhale, palms pressed together. Inhale, reaching and stretching up. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale, right leg back. Knee down, relax your hips. Hold your breath, left foot back, coming to plank. Exhale as you lower. Inhale, face and chest lifts, pressing forward. Exhale, hips lift, down face dog, heels press firmly to the ground. Inhale, right foot through, left knee down, lift your gaze. Exhale, left foot through, forward fold. Head hangs heavy. Inhale, reaching and stretching up and back. Exhale, hands down. Final side, inhale. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale, left leg back, knee down, hips relaxing forward. Exhale, hold your breath, right foot back, coming into your plank. Heels push away behind you. Exhale to slowly lower. Inhale, face and chest lifts. Exhale, toes tuck. Hips lift for our final down face dog. Heels down, hands press down. Inhale, left foot through. Right knee comes down. Lifting your gaze, relaxing your hips. Exhale, right foot springs forward. Relaxing for a moment on that out breath. Inhale, reaching and stretching up and back. Exhale, hands down. Taking your feet apart, palms turn forward. Taking a couple of breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. From here, come to lying down on your mat. Taking a good Shavasana pose, corpse pose. Feet out to the edges of your mat. Hands away from the body, your palms turned up. And as you lie there, your mind is very likely to want to go off and start thinking about other things like what you're doing after the class, things you maybe did or didn't do today. But see if you can keep your mind occupied. You could tune into your breath. You could have a check through the body, just noticing if there's any residual sensations anywhere in the body from our sun salutations and the twist we took at the beginning of the class. Just being aware of those sensations, whatever they might be. Now we're going to take some leg raises to warm the hips up a little more, although they're pretty warm by now. Bringing your feet together, hands by your side, palms turned down. Let your shoulders relax, straightening your legs by drawing your toes towards you and pressing your knees down. As you next inhale, lift your straight right leg up towards the ceiling, just taking it as high as it will go with your leg staying straight. As you exhale, lowering your right leg down. Next, inhale, lifting your left leg, keeping toes pulling towards you, knees pressing away. Exhale to lower. We'll take one more on each side. Inhaling, lifting your right leg, taking it as high as it will go while staying straight. So you might be able to take it a tiny bit further back. Next exhale, lowering the right leg. Inhaling, lifting your left leg, toes drawing towards you, knee pressing away. Even if that restricts how high you take it, exhale to lower. Then keeping your legs active, hands by your side pressing down. Bend your right knee and bring your right knee in towards you, taking your hands around the knee and hugging it in close. So you're bringing it in as close to your chest as you can. With your knees hugging down, lift your head away from the mat so that you're looking up and towards your toes. Reach your hands forward and take a good hold of your toes at the base of the toes, so that padded bit that's at the base of your toes. Now, if that's a stretch to do that, because in a moment you're going to take your head down, then you could take a belt and use a belt around your foot. So see how you go when we take our head down? So taking your head down by lifting your foot up to the ceiling as you take your head back down. Now that won't work for everybody, so you might want to just take a belt around your toes so that you can have your head in contact with the ground, but still have a really firm hold around the base of your toes. From here, we're going to take a calf stretch. So to allow the calf to stretch, first thing to do, just maybe take your toes, keep your knee in as close as you can, just taking your toes a little bit more overhead, so towards the ground above your head. And then firmly draw your toes down towards your knee. So you're flexing that foot strongly. And you should be getting a good stretch in your calf there, but if you want to make it that bit stronger, you could press your knee away from you. So you're straightening your leg a little bit, but not to try and bring on a full full hamstring stretch, simply enough to get that strong stretch in your calf. Once you've got a strong stretch in your calf, let your shoulders relax, let your right hip relax, and just hold that stretch. So if you're not feeling it or you're feeling it too strongly, then just adjust how firmly you're pulling your toes down, how much you're pressing your knee away, and how much you're drawing your toes overhead towards the ground behind you. So you're getting a good stretch, holding for one more breath. Then release your foot, stretch your right leg out, maybe giving it a bit of a shake before we do the left leg. Then bring your feet back together, knees pressing down, toes drawing towards you. Bend your left knee comes in, hug it in close with both hands. Have your belt ready if you're going to use a belt on this side as well. Then lifting your head, looking over your knee to your toes. If you're able to bring your knee close enough, then reaching round to take a firm grip at the base of your toes, or wrapping the belt around your toes so that you can take your head back down, lifting your foot to let your head land back onto the ground. And then bringing on that calf stretch. So taking your toes a little bit overhead, that'll be a bit of straightening of your leg, but keeping your knee in close. Then firmly drawing your base of your toes down towards you. Just straightening your leg enough to get you a good firm stretch in your left calf. Once you're feeling a good stretch, then just keep that stretch applied, making sure your shoulders are relaxing, your left hip is relaxing, and allowing your breath to be steady, guiding the coolness of the inhale to the heat of the calf stretch. Maybe just seeing if your toes can ease towards you a little more, if your knee can straighten a little more, if your toes can come back overhead a little more. One more breath. And release. Release your foot. Bring your left leg down. Let your feet relax apart. Turn your palms face up. Have a shake of that left leg if it feels like it needs it. And take a breath or two there before we take our core exercise. Our core posture today is Jathara Parsvattanasana, one of my favourite postures to say. It's churning the stomach. So we're going to work the sides of our core muscles. To get yourself ready, bend your knees, bringing your feet in towards you. Bring both knees up onto your chest, taking your arms around your knees and hugging them in close. So bringing your knees as close to your chest as you can. Once you've drawn your knees in, hold them there as much as you can as you take your hands out to the side. Firmly pressing your arms down into the ground, stretching your hands away from you, pressing your shoulder blades into the ground. So you have this strong anchor line at the top of your body. Draw your navel in towards your spine so that your core engages. As you next exhale, slow as you like, take both knees over to the right hand side. Keep your navel drawing in, keep your left shoulder blade and arm pressing down. Bring your arms as close to the ground as you can. You want to hover them just off the ground, but pay attention to your core, just bringing them as low as your core allows. Drawing your knees then up towards your elbow. Keeping your left shoulder blade pressing down, having as much contact with your upper back and the ground as you can. On your next inhale, bring your knees back up to the center. Reset your arms, pressing them into the ground, navel's drawing to your spine. Slowly take your knees over to the left hand side. Aiming to hover them as close to the ground as you can. Once you've come as low as you can, draw your knees up towards your left elbow. Right arm's pressing down into the ground. Your upper back, the right side of it's pressing into the ground. So that might give you a feel like your navel's starting to twist up to the ceiling. One more breath here, having a final draw of your knees up to your elbow. On your next inhale, bringing your knees back to the center. Landing your feet down and taking a moment there. So if you just want to have a quick look, you might just need to have a little quick look through your knees. We're going to take this then with our breath. And your options are, you can keep your knees bent as we've just done it, taking it like that. Or you can straighten your legs and take it with straight legs. That's the strongest. Or you can do something in between. But in between doesn't mean having your legs straight and diagonal. It would mean having your knees just a little bit less bent. So your knees are in as close as you can bring them, and then it's just choosing to have your legs more or less bent. So you can tune this to be the right for your core. We're going to take 5 to each side. So choose a position of a bend in your leg that's going to allow you to do 5 to each side. So arms pressing into the ground, navel drawing towards your spine. Have your knees where you think you want them to start. So bringing them on chest, so either straight, fully bent, or somewhere in between. Navel to spine. Next exhale, taking both knees to the right hand side. Drawing everything up to your right arm. Inhaling, knees back to the center. Exhale, taking it over to the left. Inhaling back to the center, and then keep that going with your breath. Every exhale, it's taking it down to the side. Every inhale, it's back to the center. Navel keeps drawing towards your spine. When your legs are over at one side, keep drawing them up towards that arm. Either your knees to the arm or your feet to the hands. And when your knees are on one side, be pressing the opposite arm and shoulder firmly down to be your counterbalance and counterweight. So I'm not sure how many you've done, but if you've got another one to each side, take that. Otherwise, when you're ready to finish, make sure you finish by coming up from the left hand side. And then when you've come up from the left hand side, land your feet down, stretch your legs out, hands by your sides, palms turned up, feet relaxing apart. Any discomfort in your lower back, keep a bend in your knees, and then direct the expansion of your next few inhales. Direct that down to your abdomen. So your abdomen rising and falling gives you a bit of release to the core muscles. And then from here, we're going to take shoulder stand. So I'll be giving instructions through shoulder stand. If shoulder stand is stronger than you need today, then what you could do is you could take a lift of your legs. And if you take a lift of your legs and have something to lift to raise your hips, you could raise your hips with that. Including if you had a belt, you could put the belt around your feet. And so whilst with shoulder standing, come to a legs raised. If you're going to take shoulder stand, then stretch out, bring your arms in as close as you can. You could even have your hands underneath your buttocks a little to allow your elbows to be in really nice and close. Then from there, lifting your legs, maybe with your knees bent or with your legs straight. Once your legs lifted, lifting your hips, and once your hips are lifted, bringing your hands firmly onto your lower back. So your whole of your palm, the whole of your hands are against your lower back. And once you've got into shoulder stand, just let it settle for another breath. And then just see if there's any adjustments that help it to be stronger and more stable. So you might want to make sure your shoulders and upper arms are actively pressing down into the ground. You might choose to lift your knees a little bit away from your face or bring them down towards your face, adjusting your hands where they're gripping your hips as appropriate. You might also want to just make sure that there is some weight going into your hands, so that goes directly down to your elbows, giving you some balance between the weight going down your hands to your elbows and going down through your upper body down to your shoulders. And if that's feeling good and stable, keeping your gaze up towards your knees. I'm looking towards you, but keeping your gaze as much as you can looking up towards your knees. If you want, you can stay here, or you can come out if you're ready, or if you want to come into the pose of tranquility, you could take your hips back a little bit to the wall that's above your head, taking one hand down to the ground followed by the other. If that feels good and stable, you could bring one hand around and place it onto your shin. So your hand's flat against your shin. If that's wobbly, take that hand back and swap it for the other. But if that's stable, bring the other hand over so that your shins are just resting onto your arms. Your arms are straight, your legs are straight. And legs, all the weight from the legs is just resting onto your straight arms. If that feels good and stable, and if your hamstrings allow it, you could maybe reach back and catch a hold of your toes. But your aim in this is to find the balance. So you might want to just maybe come backwards and forwards a little on your upper back, making sure that your upper back is planted on the ground. What can happen is you lift your upper back away from the ground and end up with all your weight on your neck. So you want your upper back to be firmly planted on the ground. Taking one more breath in your pose of tranquility, if you're in the pose of tranquility. Bringing your hands then one at a time back onto your lower back with your elbows in good and close. And I've got another optional extra from here. So you can come down in the normal way if you want to, by taking one hand to the ground followed by the other and draping your back down. But if you want to come directly into the next posture, which is going to be bridge pose, you could, with your hands on your buttocks, first of all just let your buttocks slip down into your hands a little more. Bend your knees in towards your face, and then take one foot, you choose which, over and down towards the ground, pointing your toes, seeing if your toes will touch the ground, but being really attentive of your wrists. If one set of toes touches down, then you could bring the other set of toes down. You'll then find yourself probably on your toes on the ground, so then land your heels down. If that isn't working for you today, then come down in the normal way with your palms planted on the ground. Those who are in bridge, hold here, maybe keeping your hands on your hips or taking them to the ground. If you're not in bridge, then bring your feet in towards you, reach your hands down, palms flat on the ground, turn your toes in very slightly, tilt your tailbone up to the ceiling and start to lift your hips away from the ground. Once you've got some lift in your hips, start to press your upper arms down, peeling more of your upper back away from the ground. If it's the right thing for your shoulders, you could bring your hands underneath you, interlacing your hands and then rolling each shoulder out and underneath you. Wherever you are, pressing into your hands and upper arms, seeing if you can lift your hips a little higher, seeing if you can peel more of your upper back away from the ground. And then if your hands are on your hips all interlaced, just bringing them down to the ground and moving them out to the side to clear some space. And slowly start to bring your hips down to the ground. Send them towards your heels so that your upper back drapes itself vertebra by vertebra onto the ground. Hips land last. As soon as they've touched down, bring your knees onto your chest. Take your arms around your knees and have a rock side to side. For everybody who's in the class today, that was wonderful to see. Fantastic shoulder stands. And everybody taking the right thing for them. Good sequence. Bringing that to a halt, easing your head up towards your knees, just drawing your knees into your chest. And releasing, feet land down, head lands down. Stretch your legs out, let your feet relax apart. Just turning your palms up for a moment. And then bringing your feet together, reaching your arms up overhead, interlacing your hands if your shoulder's good with that. Let's take a good long stretch out. Toes press forward, arms stretching back. And once you think you're stretching as long as you can, see if you can stretch a little bit longer. And release. Bring your arms over by your side, come up to sitting. And we'll take a release of our necks. So just sitting comfortably, that might be cross-legged, but it doesn't have to be. Turning your head all the way to the right. Keep your chin level, so neither looking up nor down. To the centre, over to the left. Centre and the right. This time taking it as far as your neck's comfortable to go. Back to the centre. And finally as far to the left as your neck's comfortable to go. And back to the centre. From here we're going to take tabletop. So coming so that you have got your knees bent and bringing your hands behind you with your fingertips pointing away. Your feet want to be hip distance apart. Your arms are nice and close. We're going to be lifting up in a moment. So traditionally fingertips pointing away, but if it feels to you like your wrists will prefer to be inwards, then point your fingertips inwards. You could also point them outwards. And if you, as we do this, it gets stronger than your wrists need, come onto your elbows. Press your hands or elbows firmly into the ground, lifting your chest so that you get some strength in your upper body. On your next inhale, lift your hips away from the ground. Your knees come forward, so you're coming to as much of a tabletop as you can, pressing firmly down into your feet, lifting your buttocks away from the ground, taking your shoulders back, pressing into your hands. And then if you want a little bit more here, you can take your weight over into your left foot, taking the weight off your right foot so that you can stretch your right foot away from you. And then if you want to engage your glutes, you can just roll your inner thighs upwards and outwards so that you feel your glutes engaging, pressing your right heel away, lowering your right foot. Having a breather there for a second. Do know that you can come down as soon as you need to, and then taking your weight over into your right foot, stretching your left foot straight, keeping your hips lifting, keeping your hands pressing down, keeping your right foot pressing down, rolling your inner thighs upwards to the ceiling to engage your glutes, bringing your left foot back to the ground and lowering yourself down. Taking a rotate of your wrists. So as I always say, it's good to load the wrists like that as long as they're up for it. If they're not up for it, then it's fine to come onto the elbows. You still get all the benefits of that posture on the elbows. Coming then to lie on your fronts. So those who came to the Shivananda class a few Saturdays ago, or who've done the recording, and if anybody wants the recording of that, let me know. And in fact, it's public now on YouTube, so you can see it in our YouTube channel if you want to do that class. We're going to take the full traditional 3 posture Shivananda back sequence. So that starts with Cobra pose, Bhujangasana. Come onto your fronts, ready for Cobra. Before we start though, take your hands underneath your forehead, one on top of the other. Rest your forehead onto your hands and take a breath or 2 there. You might also want to take a rock of your hips after taking tabletop. So we'll start with our 3 posture sequence with Cobra. Lifting your head, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, the tips of your fingers lining up with the top of your shoulders, elbows in close, forehead resting on the ground. So making sure your elbows are lifted away from the ground. I think everybody's are, that's looking good. Then with your forehead resting on the ground, just take your shoulders up to the ceiling and down towards your feet. So roll up and back of your shoulders. Next inhale, lift your face, look directly forwards. Next inhale, peel your chest away from the ground, keeping your hands just relaxing on the ground, not lifting you up. Press your elbows back so your hands are pulling against the mat. They're not moving against it, but they are pulling against it. That eases your chest forward. Seeing if you can lift your chest a little higher. On your next exhale, lowering slowly down. Rest your forehead on the mat for a breath. Before we lift, just take an up and back of your shoulders. Next inhale, lift your face, look forward. Next inhale, lift your chest away from the mat. So as you lift it, sort of roll it forward and up. Elbows ease back and come in close. Shoulder blades ease down your back. Take one more breath here. Lift a little more if you can. Exhale to lower. We've got one more Cobra. With your forehead resting on the ground, take your shoulders up and down towards your feet. Next inhale, lift your face, look forward. Next inhale, peel your chest away from the ground, shoulder blades easing back. And if you want to on this one, you could then also put some pressure into your hands, paying attention to your lower back as you lift, easing your chest forward, easing your elbows back. Just coming as high as your lower back is comfortable to go. It's a really strong bend on the back. One more breath, lifting a little if you can. Exhaling, lowering back down. Hands come under your forehead, resting forehead or cheek onto your hands. So posture 1 of the sequence. Posture 2 is the full locust pose. Locust pose. So I'm just going to, if you just want to take your hands on your shoulders and just come, or just come so you can see the screen. I just want to show you the hand position for locust, Salabhasana. So what we want to do with the hands, we want to have our hands underneath us, and we'll be lying on our fronts. So the options for the hands are, you could have your hands like that, and then bring them down to there. Or you could make 2 fists, and bring your fists together, and bring them down to there. Or you could interlace your hands and get a good strong hand grip, and bring that down to there. So choose which one feels like it's going to be the best for you. The one I personally like is this. But you will notice that it feels a bit awkward when you're then ready for the lift, because you've kind of got your hands stuck underneath you, you're lying on them. But that then does let you make the lift that we'll do then in just a moment. So you might need to kind of sit up a little bit to get your hands into the right position. In fact, it's kind of, or roll to one side, or just kind of need to get yourself with your hands underneath you in the position of your choice, with your elbows coming in close and your hands pressing down towards your feet. Chin rests on the ground, and what you want to do is have your chin as far away from you as your neck is comfortable to take it. So we're going to take half locust pose first. So with your chin resting on the ground, your hands pressing towards the ground and down towards your feet. As you next inhale, lift your right leg away from the ground. Pointing your toe backwards and lifting that thigh away from the mat as much as you can. Pressing your arms down, that might help your hips lift a little bit away from the ground. As you exhale, lower your right leg. Next inhale, lift your left leg away from the ground. Lifting it as high as you can towards the ceiling, keeping your breath going as you do that. Next exhale, lowering down. We'll take one more to each side. Next inhale, lifting your right leg. Exhaling, lower. Keeping your arms firmly together and towards the ground. Next inhale, lifting the left leg. See if you can take that a little higher. Exhale to lower. Then it's the double. So we're going to take a couple of breaths as a lead in. So make sure your chin's on the ground, hands are together, pressing down towards your feet, pressing down into the mat. We'll take 2 breaths and then we'll take the lift. So inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Next inhale, lifting both legs away from the mat. Pressing your arms down into the ground, lifting your hips away from the ground, lifting your thighs away from the ground, keeping your breath steady, holding for one more breath, lifting a little higher, exhale, lowering back down. Releasing your hands and bringing your hands underneath your forehead, resting forehead or cheek into your hands. We'll let our breaths just return back to resting. And then the final posture in the sequence is bow pose, Dhanurasana. So bow pose is the one where we take a hold of our ankles. If your ankles aren't reachable today, then that's fine. What you can do is still have your knees bent, have your arms heading towards your ankles, but not necessarily have them connected. So to prepare and set up, stretch your arms out in front of you. Stretch your legs away behind you. Bending your knees, so you're bringing your ankles as close to you as you can, pressing your your hip crease down a little to help them come closer, lifting your arms, reaching them forward, and then reaching them all the way around, lifting your chest a little as you do so to see if that will allow you to reach your ankles or your feet or anything that you can find. As I say, if you don't reach them, that's fine. You can have your arms heading up to your ankles. As you next inhale, then lifting your chest a little more from the ground, lifting your head, lifting your shoulders, and then seeing if you can lift your knees away from the ground as well, using your arms to help to lift them. Maybe pressing your ankles away from you to lift your chest a little bit higher. Keeping your breath going, you might find you rock a little, keeping your hip creases pressing down, chest lifting, knees lifting. Your knees may not necessarily lift today, but send the message. One more breath, one more lift. As you next exhale, releasing your ankles, releasing everything, bringing your hands underneath your forehead, placing a forehead or cheek onto your hands. Again, you might feel your heart beating in your chest. You'll certainly be aware of your breath. Strong posture, strengthening the back, also bending the back in a good way. Hands come underneath your shoulders, come up to hands and knees. We'll take a bit of cat-cow to ease out the backs after that sequence. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Tilt your tailbone up to the ceiling, lifting your head, letting the back of your waist relax down. Then tucking your tailbone under, arching your back up and tucking your head under. So this is cat, pressing into your hands, knees and feet to lift your back a little higher. And then take cat, then cow with your own breath. So inhaling to cow, head and tailbone lifts, back of your waist relaxes down. Exhaling to come to cow, head and tailbone tucks under, back arches up. Next time you're in cat, hold cat for a moment. See if your back will arch higher. You might find pressing into your hands, knees and feet a little will help it to lift. And release. Relax everything. Sit down back towards your heels. Bring your bum as close to your heels as you can, stretching your arms forward. Bringing your forehead then down to the ground. Once your forehead's on the ground, if your hips have lifted a long way from your heels, if you're comfortable, then that's fine. But if you want to bring your hips a bit closer to your heels and have your head resting, you could make a fist or two fists and rest your head onto your fists. But the most important thing is that you're just feeling comfortable and able to relax, so that every exhale brings your armpits and chest a little closer towards the ground. Adjusting your child's pose as you want to. So knees can be open or closed and hands can be in front, behind or resting one on top of the other on your lower back. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Press into your hands, bring yourself slowly up. Knees together if they were open, and we're going to come from here to our twist. So take your hips to one side. We're going to take full Ardha Matsyendrasana, if that's okay for your body. Once you're sitting to one side, bring your left foot over by your right knee. Draw that foot in close. And so here, if your left buttock doesn't have a reasonable contact with the ground, then straighten your right leg out, and that will bring it in reasonable contact. So don't hesitate to do that. Once you're sitting with both buttocks connected to the ground, then hands on your knee, drawing your knee into your chest and lifting your upper body up and forward towards that knee so that you are good and straight. And you might be able to, particularly if you're a little bit side onto your camera, you might be able to see how your lower back's looking, how straight up you're able to sit. Take your left hand behind you, bring it in as close to the middle of your back as you can, so your fingertips can press in, still lifting your chest up and taking it forward. As you next inhale, lift your right arm up to the ceiling. Stretch as tall as you can, lengthening your upper body and straightening your spine. On your next exhale, start twisting to the left, bringing your arm down and either taking your knee against your elbow against your knee or hugging your arm. And with your elbow against your knee, you can have your arm bent or you could straighten your arm out. Taking your gaze over your left shoulder, seeing if your left shoulder can move back and round a little more. And then using your next few breaths so that you inhale, you press into your back hand and lift your spine forward and up. As you exhale, easing round a little more. If you've got your elbow against your knee, that gives you a lot of leverage. So don't overuse that, just easing your spine round as far as it's comfortable to go. Take one more breath, final straighten and a final ease left. On your next inhale, lift your right arm and untwist towards the front. Exhale, taking your right arm down. So if you have got your legs straight, one leg straight, then you can swap your legs over. If you have got your legs crossed like this, then we're going to transition seamlessly to the other side by taking your hands over to the right hand side, lifting your hips, but then keep your feet where they are as you walk all the way around the back, just pivoting around on your feet, coming round until you find yourself sitting all ready to do the other side. making sure that everything's good, right buttock's got contact with the ground, drawing your knee in towards your chest, lifting your chest up and towards your knee. Take the right hand behind you, fingertips press into the ground, keeping you straight. Next inhale, lift your left arm, grow as tall as you can. Next exhale, keep the height as you turn to the right, bringing that arm down to hug the leg or to take the elbow against the knee. Arm can be straight or bent, turning to look over your right shoulder, seeing if your right shoulder can move into the space that's behind it, bringing your chest round a little more, and using your next 2 or 3 breaths. Inhale, pressing into your back hand to straighten. Exhale as you ease yourself round. One more breath, one more twist. Next, inhale, lift your left arm up to the ceiling, untwisting as you do so. Exhale, lower your left arm, uncrossing your legs, stretching them out and taking a shake. Coming to standing then for our standing posture. Yeah, I think today we've done some good strong postures, we've worked pretty hard. I think we'll go straight into our balance and then treat ourselves to a bit of a longer relaxation. So for our balance, we're going to take eagle pose today. So you might want to come off your mat. Particularly if you've got carpet there. You might want to be near a wall just in case you want to have something to help you to balance. I'm sure you won't need it, but you'll know it's there. Taking your feet hip distance apart. And just before we start, just close your eyes for a moment and relax. So relaxing your shoulders. Taking 2 or 3 breaths. Inhaling, feeling the rise. Exhaling, letting that rise subside all the way down to your feet. Then just pressing your feet down into the ground a little, lifting the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. So you're strengthening your standing posture. Relaxing, taking your shoulders back and down, a little lift of your chest. So coming to a strong standing posture, ready for eagle. Opening your eyes. Taking a little bend of your knees, just a little, so you're slightly crouching. Picking up your left foot and crossing it above the right knee. So you're wanting your legs as close as you can bring them, as in close contact. And you might find that you can also then take your foot round a bit more and tuck it behind the other. But you also may well find that that won't work as well. So see how that goes. Then take your arms out to the side, stretching your hands wide. Bringing them together so that the left hand comes under the right. So take them across and take them as far away from each other as you can. Once you've done that, you can then bend your elbows so that the backs of your hands start to come towards each other. These are your eagle wings. You might then also find you could bring the palms together, so you wrap them around a little bit more, but again, you equally might find that doesn't work. So either bring the backs of your hands together or the palms. This is eagle. So from here, see maybe if you can sit down a little more deeply and see if your elbows will lift a little more up towards the ceiling. So that's stretching the shoulder with the elbows, stretching the legs as you sit down. Keeping your breath nice and steady, keeping your shoulders relaxed as you can. Seeing if you've got any more sit, see if you've got any more elbow left. And then let's open our wings. So uncrossing the palms if they're crossed, taking your arms away from each other, opening your wings. As you next inhale, lifting your wings and your legs. As you exhale, lowering foot and lowering hands. Wonderful. Take a shake of your right leg. Those were fantastic, stable eagles. So once again, just take a moment to stand, get a little bit of a breath of rest. But there's that idea of relaxing the body, but also just strengthening your standing posture ready for eagle. Bending your knees a little, so you're just a little bit of a little crouch. Picking up your right foot, taking it over the left leg. So your right knee's above the left knee. So bring it as close and as tight as you can. You might find you can tuck your right foot behind your left calf, but you might not. Taking your hands wide and bringing them over so that your right arm comes under the left this time. Keep that movement going, so you take your hands as far from each other as you can. Bending your elbows so that you fold your wings, either bringing the back of your hands together. You might find you can twist it a little more and take your palms towards each other. Sitting down a little more deeply, lifting your elbows away from the ground. And taking a few breaths there, seeing if you can sit a little bit more, seeing if your elbows will lift a little more. And then it's time to open our wings. So uncrossing if your palms are touching, bringing your hands away from each other, opening wide, inhaling, lifting, uncrossing, exhale, landing back down. Wonderful. Taking a shake of your left leg. And then from there, our work is done. Let's take final relaxation. So bringing yourself to lie down. That could mean a good Shavasana pose. Feet out to the corners of the mat, hands away from the body and palms turned up. But it could mean your knees are bent and anything else that makes you comfortable. You could have something behind your head if you like. And then once you're lying down, let everything go. You may be holding a little bit of tension in your shoulders, so just see if they can relax down to the ground anymore. Are you holding your hands with some tension? Can you let your fingers just curl naturally? Can your ankles just relax out to the side? Are your hips relaxed? And then once you're sure your body is relaxing, use your next 3 breaths. Allow the exhale to connect you a little more closely to the ground. And then know that I'll keep my eye on the time. For the next 3 minutes, there's nothing you have to do except rest, except relax. Keeping your body still, slowly bring your awareness back. Becoming aware again of your body resting on the ground. Taking a wriggle of your fingers and a wriggle of your toes. Bring your legs together, take your arms up and overhead. Have a gentle stretch out, toes press forward, hands press back. Very gentle, just re-energizing, releasing that stretch, bending your knees, bringing one knee then the other onto your chest, bringing your arms round to hug your knees in close. Have a rock side to side. Bring that to a halt, easing your head towards your knees, drawing your knees down towards your chest. Then releasing, taking your head down, landing your feet down. From there, maybe coming via the right hand side for a breath or two, slowly bringing yourself up to sitting. Wonderful to see you all. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.